Heaton, where are you now? I do need an official place to say that you are broadcasting from.
Well, you know what? Sunday, I will be moving into my new place in Alexandria, Virginia, in the greater Washington Necroplex. So by the time we record again, I should be in Alexandria.
And right
presently,
now
I'm in
you are
Arlington, which is the other fake Virginia county that borders D.C.
Yeah. Very exciting. No, Arlington, I don't know. I need to learn it because I'm going to be up there a couple times next year for the governor's race.
It's nice. Lovely houses, but I'll be moving to Alexandria. I took your advice, by the way, Justin. I went camping this last weekend, and I will be spending Thanksgiving with friends. I was originally going to go Thanksgiving camping, not sad. I like camping, but I thought about it. I was like, well, I don't have plans this weekend anyway. Why not go camping when I don't have plans and then go do and I'm glad I did it on top of it. In addition to the fact that it was a very nice camping trip. Guess when hunting season with guns starts in Virginia? Last Monday. So if I'd gone camping this weekend, I would be out during, and I don't have any orange. I talked to a lot of hunters while I was out camping because I would go on walks with Wallace, and I all very nice people. And we would get talking and they'd go, yeah, hunting season. I mean, it's bow right now, but hunting season, I don't know the terms here, buck gun, like basically gun hunting season starts on Monday.
Buck season.
Like, what are you planning?
Season, yeah.
Yeah, but they could still hunt. They could still hunt the deer. It's just they could only do it with bows and arrows and crossbows.
With bows and arrows, yeah. Live ammo.
It's
live
guns
ammo
from here on out, right? And they were like, do you have orange? And I was like, no, I don't wear that color. And then I looked down and I'm wearing like a brown blazer with brown leggings. And I was like, I look like a deer, like a bipedal deer. And so it's probably for the best that I'm not wandering around camping this weekend because I'd probably be shot. There's always a small chance, but much higher now.
You were wearing a blazer while camping?
I have a camping blazer.
Okay.
It's just an older blazer. My version of sweatpants is just an old blazer, like an old crumpled blazer.
Yeah.
That's a heat and sweatpants are rumpled blazers.
Okay.
What else did you and the hunters talk about?
Yeah,
that's what I want to know. I want to know what's in that Venn diagram. Well, you're Frasering in the foliage. Like, what do you talk about with these elements of Red America?
Here's the thing, though. You have to remember something, though. I code switch. I have three modes. I have Clark Kent broadcaster mode, as I am currently speaking to you and our listeners in right now.
Yeah.
And I have Okie mode, and I have who the fuck's this guy? Is he a quarter British mode? And those are the three modes I've got, right? So like when I'm out camping, I'm in Okie mode. So when I walk and I see somebody, I'm like, howdy. Like is hunting season going on right now? I immediately switch into that. And then they just complain about city people. It's great.
Yeah.
like I'm out visiting from the city, but they're like, oh, well, enjoy it because here in about a week, all the fuckwits from the cities are going to come out and shoot fucking goats. And I'm like, right? Those fuckwits always shooting goats. We're supposed to be shooting deer.
Have you ever been hunting?
I killed a rabbit one time. I didn't like it. No, hunting's hereditary. Like you have to, like if you hunt, it's because your dad hunts. You learn it from your dad and your uncles. My uncles and my cousins all hunt, but I've never been hunting with my dad, and I don't think he's probably done it since he left Alva in like the 80s. So I've never been on a deer hunt or anything like that. I went rabbit hunting in Scotland, but I winged it, and then I had to brain it. And I didn't enjoy the visceral element of that experience. So I don't know. At some point, I'll probably go full vegetarian at some point in the near future, in which case, if I wanted to ethically eat meat, I feel like hunting would actually be the most appropriate way to do it because it has a good life. It has a quick, clean death, hopefully. So maybe at that point, I'd go hunting just so I could eat delicious, delicious boar.
I like how in the same sentence that you tell us you're going to be a vegetarian, you tell us how you're going to continue to eat meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, the mental gymnastics that you go through.
I'm concerned about the suffering of... Wait, hold on now. I think this makes total sense, right? Who has
that's
a better
what's
life?
concerning.
A deer. I think that people who hunt and kill their food are more ethical to animals than people like me that eat factory farmed food. So like I think hunters are actually more pro animal than meat eaters who get it from a factory where they don't know the conditions of the animal. I'm in the factory farm camp presently. So I'm saying, I would.
No,
You're not a vegetarian.
There's no ethical problem.
That is the Jello mold that you've poured your liberal guilt, and like you now are going to put yourself in a situation where you're going to have to try to go out and hunt, but you'll never do it. So it's just easier to eat kale.
Yes, this is exactly right. Yes, if I'm going to limit the suffering of animals, I think that is the corner that I back myself into ethically.
So Heaton, so you are going to have Thanksgiving with humans.
I'm having a human Thanksgiving. I got invited. So I make funny videos with the Bragg brothers at Reason. That's why I'm up here in DC Thursday and Friday. I've been doing that for years. So if anybody's ever seen me do a funny video on Reason, the other bearded guy, or the other guy who has a beard, that's Austin Bragg. And then Meredith, you rarely see, but Meredith is a part of our troika, and he's doing a lot of the editing and the brainstorming and the writing and all of that. So they invited me to their family Thanksgiving. So I'm going to go to that. I'm the third Bragg brother. Apparently there are four. Including me. But I'm interpolating myself as an honorary Bragg this weekend, and I'm bringing haggis and carrots because I didn't know what else to bring, and it seemed like they had everything covered. But I can't show up empty-handed, I don't think. So
well, I mean, everyone wants haggis. So
everyone does want
knocking
haggis.
down the door.
People like shepherd's pie. Shepherd's pie is fine. Haggis is the same thing as shepherd's pie. It's just Scottish. Do you know what's gross, Jen? Chicken McNuggets. That's gross. It's made out of chicken beaks and anus that are grounded into a paste and fried. Haggis is way better.
Yeah, because chicken McNuggets is what we were bringing to Thanksgiving.
No, I'm just saying.
Typical Thanksgiving food.
Everybody thinks that haggis is gross, and then I'm like, do we eat chicken McNuggets? That's chicken anus paste. It's disgusting.
Also, by the way, Scottish people eat chicken McNuggets, and American people couldn't give a shit about
filthy
haggis.
People. The Scots are a filthy, lecherous bunch of drunks. I'm not saying anything other than that. All I'm talking about is haggis.
I'm just saying only
good.
one of those items has crossed the Atlantic appropriately and survived.
Not banana bread, he brings haggis.
If they ever legalize marijuana in Scotland, the Scots will fry it. Scottish cuisine is just circus food with sheep guts. That's it. Like if you would eat it at a circus, the Scots have made it before. That's their thing. It's just circus food with sheep guts, Scottish cuisine.
So why do you bring that to parties in America?
Who doesn't love circus food?
I like circus food with sheep guts. I'm making fun of it, but I enjoy it. Like I could eat a Twinkie and know it's bad for me.
Heaton, I got a business idea for you. The next time you're in Edinburgh, you sell packages for Scots to come to the Texas State Fair, where you have the most amount of everything deep fried. And if there's already a cross cultural connection between just deep frying random shit, then when they have deep fried oysters at the Texas State Fair, they're gonna go fucking nuts.
Oh, I think this is a great idea. I'm just like show up as I'm dressed right now in my ostrich skin jacket and be like, yeah, I'm selling tickets to the Texas State Fair. You probably wouldn't be interested though, because I don't think you guys could hold your own in a drinking contest. And they're like, what? And I'm like, what? And at one point, some of these Texans have said, I don't know what they are, but the Texans are like, I bet I could flip a telephone pole over pretty hard in a field, and I bet I'd be real good at it. And they're like, what? No, we're much better at flipping over telephone poles in a field.
From Austin, Texas, I'm Justin Robert Young. From Arlington, Virginia,
I'm Andrew Heaton.
And from Maui,
I'm Jen Briney.
And we're not wrong. On this edition of the program, we're going to talk about Drake filing a lawsuit after losing a rap beef, and fat season officially beginning. A new study saying that Americans on average will gain 6 pounds between now and the new year. We ask our panel exactly how much they plan on apportioning to their waist by the time that we are done with 2024. That and your emails. We're going to try to go most of the show, at least without a main topic that is political. Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into political stuff, but we want to give people a little bit of breathing room as we enter into the Thanksgiving season. What do you guys have rules on politics at the dinner table for Thanksgiving? Is it like a hard no on it, or do you have the ability to do it, Heaton?
We don't need them. This is one of the really nice things about the greater Heaton family that sadly I will not be joining for Thanksgiving this year. But the Heaton family is centered in northwestern Oklahoma, which is culturally a part of the Midwest. Think of Kansas. Think of that kind of gentle Great Plains part of the country. And the motto of the Midwest could be "Don't make waves." Don't make waves.
Yeah.
Just don't like.
Just keep it moving.
Everybody's happy. Everybody's happy. Let's not get into anything uncomfortable. We solved racism in the 60s. Let's not talk about it again. Let's just keep everything under the rug. So that's the default state. In 2016, right after Trump won then, and I think a much more surprising and tumultuous election than the one we just went through, I still do not know how any of my farmer family voted. I would guess that they probably voted Republican reluctantly. That's my guess, but I don't know. And no one discussed it. The only political conversation we got into was my Uncle Gary said something about how when that guy killed Reagan, and my dad was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, when that guy killed Reagan, and he's like, Reagan died from Alzheimer's in his 80s. And he's like,
"You mean God?"
No. He's like, no, because I watched Bill O'Reilly and he wrote a book where a guy killed Reagan. And then Dad got into a fight with Uncle Gary about whether Bill O'Reilly knew what the fuck he was talking about. And Dad was on the side of no, he doesn't. That was the only political conversation we got into. But when it got into
confusion
Trump,
over Bill O'Reilly's metaphorical series of killing blank.
That was the only actual political conversation we got onto. At one point, when we finished the meal and everything, my Uncle Dan, who's now the patriarch of the family, he just quietly sat down next to me and he took a deep breath and he went, "That election was weird." And I was like, "Right?" And he goes, "Everybody got real angry." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah. Well, we've got deviled eggs." That was it. It was like literally three. It was just
That's
like
amazing.
It was mild decibel level 2 astonishment at how bent out of shape everybody got. Do you also appreciate how out of shape everybody got? Yes, I do, Uncle Dan. Great. We got deviled eggs. That was it. It was wonderful. It was amazing. I love my family.
Jen, what's the rules with you guys?
With the Brinies, which is who I'm here with right now, there are no rules. We agree enough, and we're also they're so polite. They're just the nicest people, so there's no problems here. It's my family where the fireworks go off. Surprise, surprise. So yeah, Christmas this year will be with my MAGA uncle, who I'm sure will be gloating. And just the way that it's worked, because I'm the only one out of the 6 of us kids that didn't have kids, I am now at the adults table. So they're all very Republican. They're all trolls, and they like to needle me. And so Joe and I kind of just use them as science experiments.
Disgusting. Why would somebody do that?
I know, right? It's such a dick move. But yeah, so it's like they'll say stuff just to get at me. So I just ask them a lot of questions just to be like, where are you getting your information from? And it's just very fun for me to hear it's Newsmax and just sources where I'm like, they're like, "Oh, have you heard of this person?" I'm like, "No," because they're probably a quack. So I enjoy it, but I don't take it seriously. And I think that's kind of the key where it's like, okay, I want to hear your side of things. And they just want to tell me their side of things. They're not interested in what I think.
They just want to be heard.
Yeah, so I just let them be heard, and then I go home, and it's great, and I can't wait to see them. I'm looking forward to all of it. So yeah, it's
I will
nothing
say
serious.
this,
We're not changing the world at the dinner table. We're really not.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to fight.
The people in my life that have had the biggest reaction to this election, it's been actually helpful that they did, because you eventually, after the adrenaline wears off and the talking points are kind of talked, you find out that there's some other gigantic problem that's going on in their lives. And this is really not about the election at all. There's other stuff there. So if these last 8 years have been nothing but a hot compress to bring up deep-seated trauma that other people are now talking about by way of this bizarre sojourn where politics became the number one cornerstone of all pop culture, then at least some people got some free therapy out of it, I guess.
Yeah, it was all worth it. It was all worth it for that.
That's what I'm going to say. You want to know what else might be worth it if the courts agree with him is Drake filing a petition in a New York court alleging that the Universal Music Group manipulated Spotify streams to boost Kendrick Lamar's diss track Not Like Us during their ongoing feud. Drake's company, Frozen Moments LLC, accuses UMG of using bots and pay-to-play deals to inflate the song's popularity, citing UMG's close ties with Spotify. The filing also claims that UMG fired Drake-aligned employees to conceal its actions. UMG denies these accusations, calling them offensive and untrue. The feud between Drake and Lamar, two of hip-hop's biggest stars, escalated significantly with the case involving not only major business partners that they both have, they are both aligned with the Universal Music Group, although there's like 3 labels in all of music, so it's not really shocking that they are on the same label. But the feud did get personal. It is widely assumed that Drake lost it. Heaton, you're an old school hip hop head, is filing a lawsuit after a lost rap beef good for street cred?
No, not at all. You know, back in the day when I first got into the rap, I had a respect for gritty musicians that settled things the old-fashioned way on the street with a rapier or a gun. And the fact that they're having to resort to the courts rather than doing it like, well, one of my dear friends is a very popular rapper. He's been in hiding for a number of years now, but he's presumed dead. And back in the day, he would just shoot a guy if this kind of thing happened. The idea of going through the courts, Tupac, I mean, my friend would never have, resorted to that kind of tattling to go to the man. So, no, I think this is very bad for street cred, and he seriously risks losing the Heaton demographic.
I wanted to ask Heaton this because he strikes me as a man who loves rap because he believes Hamilton is a documentary. And that is when it began.
I don't like rap. I'm sure that there's value to it. It just doesn't appeal to me. It like other people like it.
Did any of this
life is really
cross
hard.
into
Take joy whatever you can. It just doesn't elicit joy for me.
Did any of this cross into your pop culture radar? Any of this beef? This was a very big pop culture story over the last year. Did any of it get to you?
I had heard of Drake. That's it. That's the the amount of. And who's the other fellow we're talking about? Now Drake's not the one that won the Pulitzer.
That's it.
Drake won the Pulitzer.
No, Kendrick Lamar is.
Kendrick Lamar, and he's not a basketball player.
No, Kendrick Lamar won the Pulitzer.
Drake has
check on that because I could swear Kendrick Lamar is a basketball player.
Now we're in dangerous territory.
Wait, but is there a famous basketball player either named Kendrick?
You're
or
thinking
Lamar?
of Lamar Jackson, who's a football player.
There is a Kendrick Perkins who is on television, and there's a Lamar Odom who is a famous basketball player. But I'm telling you right now, I'm hitting the eject button on this conversation of rapper or basketball player.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I've heard of. I'm not familiar with this. Okay. I understand that there's a beef. I read the story you sent me, and it seems like a really good way for musicians to get free media coverage is to have beefs with each other. That's like a really good tried and true strategy. I'm not like, so is he just, but he's, where are they taking Spotify to the courts on? Is there some law that they have to like the New York Times, for example, New York Times bestsellers are just
the label,
the New York
not
Times
Spotify.
like. It doesn't have anything to do with numbers. They've been sued before where the New York Times went, we just fucking pick things that we like and we say they're bestsellers. That's it. That's what the New York Times does. It doesn't have any like fundamental correlation with book sales. So like, I was just like, I kind of assumed everybody knew this, that they're all lies. They're all lies. So I don't understand why they're getting sued other than maybe that's free media coverage, because the AP was glowing about this Kendrick Lamar guy. I've never seen the AP go out of its way to be so glowing of somebody. It wasn't really neutral. It was very much like a positive critique, like somebody wanted to be a film reviewer or something. They slummed it at AP.
So the at the heart of this is where the beef went, and that is, it wasn't only what normally happens in rap beefs, which center around things like, I'm the best, I make more money than you, I'm better at rapping than you. And sometimes when it gets personal, it's like, I've had sex with somebody that you care about, either your baby mother or like your wife or something like that. That's where like things in the past have gotten so hot that people have had to step in and say, all right. This isn't about rap beefs anymore. Now you're getting personal. And especially in a world that, Biggie and Tupac got killed in, you're like, okay, well, maybe we don't
They
want this to
absolutely
escalate
did. He's
past
for
that.
sure dead. Please continue.
With Kendrick Lamar, the song Not Like Us centered around the idea that Drake is a pedophile and he has had sex with underage girls. The album art for it was a Google Maps image of Drake's real house with the sexual predator little pins in it that you see on a map when you look up where the sexual predators are in your neighborhood. And the big line that became burned in music lovers' brains is you're trying to strike a chord and it's probably A minor. And he hung on that, and it's A minor. It was a very
That's clever. Yeah, but I don't think
it was a very good thing. But Drake was upset because he felt it crossed the line.
Yeah, so I'm also not a rap fan at all, but this was such a big deal. And like, it was a big deal because he was basically accusing Drake of being Diddy. And so I even looked up the song because I wanted to see the words. I didn't want to listen to it, but I wanted to like read the words, and I knew I could do that on Spotify. So then to hear this, because the only reason I know about this is Justin, but the fact that Drake is suing and being like, yeah, there's no way that this song is as popular as it is just like by going viral. I'm like, I looked it up.
Yeah.
Like, I looked it up. I don't know who you are, and I looked it up. So it's kind of a loser move to be like, it's got to be the bots. It's like, does it?
Or it was really fascinating. Man. It was really, really interesting. There's a reason why it captured people's attention. There's a lot of layers to this that kind of go beneath the surface, up to and including that Drake has been thought to be the beneficiary of cozy relationships with the labels and the streaming services. And when Drake has a new album, it happens to find its way into a bunch of playlists and it gets recommended a lot within the algorithm. So it might boost the streams artificially. And so part of this is also Drake being like, wait, you don't get to do that. Why do you get to do the thing where I control all the levers of pop culture? Like, why did it turn against me? Why was it about calling me a pedophile? This is terrible. I'm suing. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't think it's a particularly good look for old Drake. It's not a
it sounds like he's making the situation worse for himself.
Well, and also, how can you prove that there were bots? Like, I don't understand how you could even sue on these grounds. Because he trying to get the music label to open up their records?
Yeah. I have not read the complaint. It sounds like sour grapes. And it also sounds like something that if you're going to go 4D chess with it, Kendrick Lamar just released a new album on Friday. His first since Not Like Us came out. And so this may well be Drake just trying to push Kendrick's album out of the topic of conversation by doing something that has more news value. The only problem is that it's a pretty ridiculous thing to do. if you're like, oh no, I'm going to be a gigantic baby and drag this into court. That's not exactly, I think, something that makes you look good.
It sounds like there was a fun conspiracy theory that I messed out on. So Kendrick Lamar, who is a rapper, has had an album drop last week, and then Drake sued him.
Yes.
So is the conspiracy theory that he's actually buddies with Lamar and that he wanted to give him a boost by drawing attention to it, and this whole thing is rigged?
No, I don't think there's any conspiracy theory that posits the idea that they are friends. I think that there is a conspiracy theory that they do absolutely hate each other on a level that is rare, even in the entertainment field, and that they are using every weapon they can. For Drake, it's that Drake is legitimately a bigger star than Kendrick Lamar. He has more #1 hits. He is somebody that has been on top for longer. Kendrick is thought to be a better performer, a better artist, but Kendrick kind of won over him in this rap beef, and that now Drake is using his fame to push Kendrick's art off the screen by saying, I'm going to file this blockbuster lawsuit.
Wait, hold on. It's my understanding that Drake is a larger performer in terms of sales and name recognition, but that Kendrick Lamar is a Pulitzer Prize winner. So is part of this having the imprimatur of the establishment versus a populist success story, where the one is desiring the approval of the elites, and the one that is approved by the elites is desiring the popularity of the scorned? Have I read this situation correctly?
You're not off. I do think that there's an element of Kendrick that's like, well, why aren't I looked at as the best of all time? And then there is an element of Drake that wants respect. One of the lines in the back and forth with Kendrick and Drake that Drake had was, Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now, as a throwing his hands up in disgust that anything that Kendrick does is lauded and rewarded by everybody. And the Michael Jackson of his era, as he looks at himself, is not rewarded in the same kind of way.
Is Drake a pedophile?
So that's interesting. And this is where I think, as a rap beef, if you're really going to bring this to court, if you were going to prosecute the case, is Drake a pedophile? It will boil down to this. Does Drake have sex with 17-year-olds? By all accounts, yes. In Canada, that's not illegal.
Wait, so is Drake up for Attorney General?
That's where
now?
He lives.
Now that Matt Gaetz has stepped down, is Drake going to be our? Because I thought it was some lady from Florida, but I could actually. We live in the universe where Donald Trump might appoint Drake as the Attorney General. It wouldn't surprise me.
We've named it. We've named him. I think he's going to be great. His name is Drake, and he's going to have my hotline bling. He's going to be a great Attorney General. Yeah. So that's part of it, is that he has had relationships with young, on the like scale of famous men who date young women in their teens or 20s. Drake has certainly been around there. He had a friendship with Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things, the psychic girl from Stranger Things, that they were like friends and they texted a bunch. And so that had become a thing in pop culture, that like, why is Drake, who at that point was like 28, 29, if not in his 30s, why is he texting back and forth with this 16-year-old girl? But we don't know for sure whether or not, he is a pedophile. He's had like lines in his songs. Like there's a Drake line that's like, I saw your high school pictures. You were even bad then, where, he's made reference to teen girls being very attractive. But, I always looked at it in more of the, classic rock kind of way, where you listen to like hits from the 80s and you're like, whoa, Jesus, you're singing a lot about a 13-year-old girl being fuckable.
Is he friends with Puff Daddy? Like, would Drake be one of the names that you hear about at a Diddy party?
They have had a very contentious relationship, Drake and Diddy. In fact, Diddy punched him, I think, at a club famously once. So Drake does escape the Diddy.
Get my wife's name out of your mouth.
You're just confusing all your black people.
Jesus. Okay. Yeah, fair. Okay.
Neither of these guys fall into the Diddy sphere of influence. Kendrick is famously very quiet, stay at home, and Drake is somebody that is very much in his own world, but it is distinct from the Diddy ecosystem.
Okay. Because I do think that if you're saying anything about that song, it's going to come up in the lawsuit, like that you were accused of being a pedophile. Like, would that, is he setting himself up for having to prove he's not a pedophile?
Here's the other funny thing is like
dumb.
In the rap beef, the last song that Drake put out, his thing was like, ha ha, you fell for it, Kendrick. I gave you false information to see whether or not you'd run with it. And it's like, wait, really? So now you're suing? You bragged about like how you hoodwinked him, like you fell for it. The I'm a pedophile bait, you took it. What a dope you must feel like, Kendrick. And now it's like, oh no, the pedophile song got too popular. I'm going to sue UMG and Spotify.
There is a bit of thou doth protest too much to all of this. You know? Where it's like, it seems like something a pedophile would do.
I guess I like the broadness of the lyrics in this rap genre, in that I get kind of bored with pop music, and that all pop music, all of it, is I'm in love with you and you're in love with me, or I'm in love with you and you're not in love with me, or we used to be in love and now we're not in love. Like, it's all about love. And it's like, that's great. Limerence is a terrific human emotion that I also engage in on occasion, but the human experience is much broader than that one singular feature of sexuality and mating and courtship, right? So like, the bit about how I'm awesome, I guess, is different than just being in love or accusing other performance artists of being a pedophile. I suppose that's part of the human experience. So I like that. I like that they're broadening what they're talking about. That's good. I like that. Yeah, them and country music, I think, actually have probably the most diverse range of topics covered in the oeuvre.
Oeuvre.
I don't know how you pronounce that word.
I will say that there's a new
I've
song.
never heard that word before in my life.
Oh,
earlier, you also said rapier, which I've never heard
of. There's a song on the new Kendrick Lamar album where, in the world of braggadocio, which is certainly the coin of the realm in rap music, Kendrick's braggadocio is 150 years ago, an angel was cast out from heaven. It became John Lee Hooker, and then died and became Billie Holiday, and then Billie Holiday died, and now it's me. I'm a 150-year-old angel, and I'm now going to commune with God, who will tell me that I'm full of shit for trying to play a nice guy in this Drake beef. I really just want to destroy people. Anyway, I rap like Tupac. See you later. Like, it's an amazing song. And in the world of like rap music, which is usually like in this current meta, I make $1 billion deals. I own a private plane. Look at all the corporate connections that I've made. It's very rare to say I'm a 150-year-old twice reincarnated angel.
Wait a minute. So hold on. As a unrepentant capitalist, it sounds like I should really like rap. The rap is just a series of bragging about commerce
these days
and doing really well in terms of business and entrepreneurship.
I mean, like,
right.
there was a period,
I don't know,
like past the 2000s, where it wasn't just enough to say like, I've got $1 million, or I've got a nice car, or I've got this, that, and the other. That was like the cool thing for a while. Then it became like, I have Warren Buffett's phone number, and I've just made a multi-billion dollar synergistic deal with Goldman Sachs. Like, that literally was like the level of, you had to escalate. Look, I'll make a playlist for you. Just the most corporate specific boasts that you can find. And there we go. I'll make a playlist.
If you find me a rap song that's worried about tariffs, that might be the guy that I'm like, all right, cool. All right, let's listen to this. Maybe he's got an insight on this I haven't thought of yet.
How about a rap song that talks about patreon.com/we're-not-wrong? That's where you need to go if you want to support this show. If you have Warren Buffett's phone number and you want him to support us, head to patreon.com/we're-not-wrong. On this edition of our bonus episode, we're going to talk about AI bragging. It can make a sound that's never been heard before. Sounds like an improv prompt. We'll find out if Heaton can play along on this bonus episode of We're Not Wrong.
Wait, I got one more question about the rap thing.
Go ahead.
And then we can move on to the next topic. Are there lady rappers? Because I don't think I've ever heard of a lady rapper, but there's got to be lady rappers, right? It's just we never talk about them.
Yes, we do. You've never heard of like Missy Elliott?
No.
Okay.
I only hear about rappers when they fight, and Justin tells me about them. But so do the lady rappers just not fight as much?
Oh, no, they fight all the time. They fight all the time. Yeah, have you heard of Nicki Minaj?
All right.
Cardi B?
She's a rapper?
Cardi B?
Okay, yes, I have heard of them. Okay, I just didn't know they were rappers. All right.
All right, Heaton, do me a favor. I need you to Google something. I need you to Google WAP lyrics. And then just read what comes up. This is a Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion song. You want to know about lady rappers. Okay. This is one of the biggest hits from lady rap.
Okay, I'm going to read this. This is WAP, which I don't think is an epithet. I think it's probably an acronym, but we don't know what it is. Maybe it will reveal itself over the course of the lyrics. Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. Hold up. I said certified freak 7 days a week. Wet ass pussy make the pull-out game weak. Woo ah. Yeah. Yeah, you fucking with some wet ass pussy. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass pussy. Give me everything you got for this wet ass pussy. Beat it up, friend. Catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this pussy right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top. I want to ride. I do a Kegel while it's inside. That's great. You know what? I got to pause this. Having a Kegel in the middle of a song.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss, Cardi B, you're my favorite rapper. You're my favorite rapper. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it would go on for a while, but okay. You know what? I'm converted. Having a Kegel in it, that's really funny. All right. Cardi B, hats off.
More I can actually hear my dad right now going, when will this bit end?
A reminder that you can swipe your nose like a credit card when it comes to patreon.com/we're not wrong. Exclusive episode once a week. Fat season's on. A survey of 2,000 Americans by Talker Research for Herbalife's Holiday Healthy Habits Study reveals that 24% of respondents are still carrying weight gain during the 2023 holidays, averaging nearly 10 pounds. Many anticipate gaining an additional 6 pounds by 2025. Over half admitted to breaking their diets during the holidays, with a younger generation more likely to indulge. Stress, current events, and the festive spirit are common reasons cited for prioritizing enjoyment over health. Despite this, 65% plan to adopt healthier habits in 2025, focusing on eating better, saving money, and exercising more. Experts recommend balancing indulgence with mindful, consistent habits, but that ain't gonna happen. Jen, how fat are we planning on getting this season? Let's put a number on it.
Jen, resident fat kid on We're Not Wrong.
Let's go. I think I'm the fattest one amongst us right now. Now I'm the closest thing that comes to the fat kid with the troika.
Well, I was the host of Talking Fat for years, so I'm fine with it. I was also on Weight Watchers for 13 years. This has obviously been a struggle for me. And we were told back in Weight Watchers, like years and years ago, that the average holiday weight gain was 7 pounds. So it sounds like America's improving if we're down to 6.
Woohoo.
But, yeah. But I buy it because we tend to do this thing where special occasions equals I can eat whatever I want. And that doesn't have to be that way. Like the special occasion should be, I get to see someone that I love that I don't get to see very often. Like that's what's special. And yet we do this thing where it's like, well, this means we've got to have desserts and we've got to have 20 of them. So, and I'm seeing it in my own family. Like we are just eating so many sweets. I don't eat like this in general, but even like if everybody's having a piece of the tart, like I'm not going to not,
you're not going to not tart it up.
Yeah, there's just like pressure to eat sweets over the holidays. And so, you can't out exercise a shitty diet. And so when you're just eating a bunch of sugar, I totally believe it. I think the issue is in January, February, March, the people that don't get rid of it, it just adds year after year after year. So I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to exercise here, but there's no way I'm out exercising all the crap that I am.
You're also in a particular fitness cycle right now, Bryony. You're waking up early. You're at least when you were here in Austin, you were. I don't know how much it's held up across the Pacific.
So I was able to work out one morning, but then I lost the entire family because I did that. So, but I have arranged for a paddleboarding adventure for 10 of us for tomorrow morning. So I'm trying to just incorporate some kind of movement into our activities. But yeah, it is hard when you're doing family things to be like, oh, by the way, can I have 2 hours in the morning? I know you guys all want to go to the beach or do whatever. It's hard to fit it in. So I'm trying to, but it's not really the exercise that's the issue. I can work out just as hard here as I do at home, but because I'm eating Kahlua pork at every meal and I'm eating sweets, like we're picking up 8 pies today. We have 2 days here to eat 8 pies. Like that's everybody has a half a pie. We don't need to order that many pies.
Wait, pizza pies or sweet pies?
No, like pie. So
like apple pie.
There's at least a couple apples in there.
Chocolate mousse, like that kind of pie? Damn.
Yeah, we might have pies? A chocolate haupia pie. Yeah, it's a lot of pies.
You don't need 8 pies.
We're not even doing Thanksgiving dinner here. So it's like we're going to go out for Thanksgiving dinner where I'm pretty sure there will be dessert. And then we're going to have 8 pies waiting for us. And so, yeah, it just doesn't matter how much you exercise. You're not going to out-exercise those bad decisions. So I guess like my plan is because we're going to Waikiki after this. So my plan is once it's like fully under my control and there is no more special occasion type stuff happening, I'll get my diet back under control. And then I'm going to use MyFitnessPal in between the holidays. So at least I can lose a little bit in between the 2 big holiday chunks. But what used to get me in the past when I would gain the 6 or 7 pounds is it would be a holiday season where I was off the rails. And so now I'm going to have like the few days where it's just kind of inevitable. Like Thanksgiving, I'm going to overeat, like duh. But then Friday, I'll be back on track. So it's like, I'm not giving myself 6 weeks to eat whatever I want. It'll probably total 6 or 7 days. And if I'm really good in between on the days where it's just, I'm home, I'm in control of my diet, like that, you don't get cookies on those days. I do think I can keep the damage down to 2 to 3 pounds. That's my goal. That's hard.
Heaton, you planning on chunking up? How fat we getting?
Oh, yes. Well, I have previously. So what I've done this last year, maybe like for folks that at home don't know what I look like, apparently I look very different in real life than how I sound. But in real life, I look like a clean-shaven Don Quixote. I'm very skinny, or at least I used to be very skinny. Now I'm thin. And so I'm very fortunate that I've got a pretty fast metabolism. But about 7 years ago, around Christmas, I felt my thighs touch for the first time. Did not like that sensation. That was new. And I'd put on some amount of weight to the point where my flesh could rub against itself. Ugh. So I now am slightly aware of this. And then really, I'm not so worried about gaining weight as I am just about the effects of sugar in general and heightened glucose. So what I've done this last year is I've been pretty good about having a rule that I don't eat dessert during the week. I only eat dessert on weekends. So I do tend to put on 1 to 2 pounds during the Christmas season because I get invited to parties, and in my brain I'm like, well, that doesn't count because I'm at a party, which is why this year I'm doing a new program to help restrain the amount of sugar that I have during the holiday season. I will eat sugar at parties and at Thanksgiving, but I'm only going to eat dessert I steal from other people. That's the new rule. I can eat whatever I want as long as I steal it from somebody else. So it's like a fun game that I get to play. And it has a deterrent effect where I can't just go get as much cake as I want. I have to take it from some kid or old person. Either way, there's a large amount of opprobrium that will occur if I'm caught.
Yeah, there was one strategy that worked out really well for us the other night. Because we ordered 4, like at BJ's, they call them Pazookies, but it's a giant chocolate chip cookie, and then they put ice cream in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So Joe and I were sharing with our 10-year-old nephew, who decided that sharing means he's going to race. And he's going to try and eat this cookie as fast as he possibly can. And like when we first had the cookie sit down, he looks at us and he goes, so do you guys want the ice cream? And Joe's like, yes, of course we want the ice cream. And so at one point, he takes his spoon, and these are big spoons, and he sees the ice cream bubble still in the middle of it. So he grabs his spoon and balances what's left of the cookie on his spoon, brings it to his face, sucks the entire ice cream ball up, and then grabs the cookie and eats the rest of it. It was the most gangster thing I've ever seen, and I got barely any of that cookie. So he helped me from gaining weight.
That's
So just
amazing.
share
Trying to
with the
steal your
child.
dessert too. You got to be preemptive. Everybody just focus on theft as a delivery system for dessert this holiday season.
Yeah, or share with children, and you'll get nothing.
Yeah, yeah. I used to do that when
That's a
I
good
was a
strategy.
kid.
What am
My mom used to make fun of me because when we would have stuff on the kitchen table, it would go from one person to the next, and I would ask them, okay, well, is everybody done? Has everybody gotten their share of whatever communal food is there? And then when they would all say yes, I would just empty the rest of that shit onto my plate. So nobody would get seconds. It would just all go to me. And so eventually people got mad and would not allow me to everybody done it anymore.
So can I take this like slightly more macro for a moment?
Go. Yeah.
I don't think everybody appreciates just what a game changer Ozempic and other comparable drugs are going to be for all of our species moving forward. Like you think about the amount of suffering that comes from diabetes and heart disease and obesity, which is pretty high. And then after that, you think about the amount of money that is spent in terms of palliative care and recuperative care. Like by the time we're in our 60s, like obesity is going to be cured. Like it's not going to be a thing. And like diabetes is going to really, really drop. So like we're living at the precipice of just a complete game changer for global health in a really, really positive direction.
I don't know how positive it is because these are drugs you have to stay on in order for it to work, and they're finding all kinds of problems with like stomach issues when you're on it. I think it's a new drug, and then we're hoping it's a panacea for this, but it's not. I think until Americans are willing to change their diet and lifestyle habits, like obesity is still going to be with us.
Well, I think that's what makes Ozempic and the GLP-1s special, is that it's not just something that does something to your body that changes it. It actually reduces the urges that you have, and you've actually seen studies. You've actually seen studies that it's also reduced. It's reduced urges to drink. It's reduced urges to gamble. There's just some element of it that makes you stop doing it. Now, the problem is you do have to put in other scaffolding to your actual daily life. You can't just allow that to be the only thing. You have to make meaningful habits and changes, because if you don't do that and you go off it, then all the demons rush back and you are totally screwed. Like it is something that really, really, really does mess with you. But I do wonder where we're going with it, because these are in many ways first generation drugs, and we're seeing a lot of different versions of them because some of them have been around for a while. So you've seen generic versions of them really, really fast, as opposed to something like, Viagra, for example, that was a brand name Pfizer thing for a while before it went generic.
I still, the problem is like if you're on Ozempic, but the calories you are getting are still just sugar, like you have to at some point eat the good, healthy foods. I don't think this is going to make us a healthier nation. And I am concerned with the idea that, we have these drugs now, so it's like, this is a problem solved. Like, I really don't think it is. And I hope that that's not.
I don't think
thinking.
that it's a silver bullet in the sense that people would get, that it would convert bad calories into good calories. But I do think it's an incredible tool that we now have access to. And my starting position is generally to assume that human nature is basically indelible and build systems around that. So if we're beginning with the premise that people like eating tasty stuff and they're going to have a harder time not eating tasty stuff, using that as a starting premise, this is a really, really good tool that can be added to the global health kit.
I don't know. There's downsides to it. There are health effects to it. I'm nervous about how excited people are about these pills. It's like if what we're trying to do here is have a healthier population, building our society around like, take a pill and that'll just make you who you want to be. Like, I don't know. If the issue is
this is such a great macro touching point. A couple of years ago, I interviewed a guy that had a political paradigm called upwingers and downwingers. So not left wing and right wing, but up and down. And like the upwingers are like, rockets, technology, go to the moon. And the downwingers are like Fern Gully, get in touch with like our essence, like go back down. And I think that we would broadly fit into these two camps, Jen, of like, I'm in the like, yeah, rockets. And you're in the like, let's go back. Let's pull it back. And you can kind of see it manifesting with Ozempic.
I mean, I'm not like trying to be a caveman, but I also know that if the issue is what you're eating and how you're eating, there are ways to control that without a drug that when you go off of it, your brain goes right back to the way it was. And it's $1,500 a week. And there are side effects to it. Like there are people that are having stomach paralysis. So it's not like, oh, you just take this thing and then you're not fat anymore. And it's over. Like it's not that. So it's not that I don't want these to exist. There are people that are extremely obese that I think could really benefit from this. But what you're finding is people that are 20 pounds overweight are thinking like, oh, Ozempic, and they're getting it. So I don't think that's a wise path. And it seems like societally, and I'm not just talking about you, Andrew, but you didn't just do it, where it's like, yeah, we've got this thing now. Like this is a problem that's going to be solved. And like, I don't think that's wise for us to.
I think we should put it in the water. I think this is great.
Like fluoride.
I think that this is going to save billions upon billions. Yeah, this will save billions upon billions of dollars that are currently wasted on palliative care that could go into preventive medicine or other things like that. So I think everything's a trade-off, right? There's positives and negatives to it. So far, this seems overwhelmingly positive to me, and I'm very, very bullish and optimistic about it.
Well, that makes one of us.
Mm-hmm. We're Not Wrong Pod at gmail.com is where you need to go if you want to write into the show. Do a Kegel while it's inside. We're Not Wrong Pod at gmail.com. Gluck writes, are we done glazing Trump and his orbit now? There were a few people that were upset that we were not mad enough about Trump. Yeah, have you not heard that? Glazing?
Oh, yeah, this is turning on me, too. I didn't know that term, but like this is happening now where people were thanking me for not being panicked. And now they're really mad at me for not being panicked. So I'm actually having a bunch of people cancel on me on Patreon because my last episode, there were 2 hearings. It wasn't just the RFK roundtable, but there were 2. And so there was another one with other doctors and they were kind of mirroring what each other was saying. And some people are big mad at me for not saying that, you know, RFK is the absolute worst and every one of these people being appointed by Trump is the absolute worst. And like, yeah, it is. They are turning on me. They no longer want someone who's calm. They want be mad with me. And it's, I'm being punished financially.
Heaton, who you glazing?
Oh, hold on. I want to key off of what Jen just said and carry on my lineage's tradition of shitting on Bill O'Reilly. Like we did back in 2016 during Thanksgiving. Like I worked at the same floor as Bill O'Reilly, right? When I was at Fox Business. And when you're in content creation, as all broadcasters are, there's the thing that you're consciously doing that people see. And there's the emotional subconscious side of this, which is really just what emotion do people feel at the end of it. That's a big part of the industry that we're in. And I watched Bill O'Reilly and I was like, this guy is making millions off of making people angry and fearful. And I don't ever want to fucking do that with my life. I will not make the point of my life making people angry, sad, or fearful. I'm just not going to fucking do it. And I think that there's great benefit to that, of being able to hear information in a way where you leave it feeling good about things that you can't change anyway. If there's something that you really like, if you're in the Senate and you can vote on Pete Hegseth, maybe you should get mad. Like that might be a situation where you have some actual traction there. But for the majority of people, I think it's much better to go, look, we have a smart audience and I love my audience at the Political Orphanage. They're smart people. I trust them to be able to make their own analysis. They're not coming to me to think for them. They're coming to me to give them information to arrive at their own conclusion. And I'm going to do it in a way that makes them feel good at the end of it. I'm not going to apologize for that at all.
Well, I mean, my show can be Debbie Downer for sure. And I'll give you the bad news when I have it. But right now I am actively looking for some silver linings because I think it's very easy to look at Trump's pick and everything Trump and be like, okay, let's pile on all the bad news because there's plenty of it. And so I made one episode that didn't do that. And it's, I think right now there's people that really want to panic and they are sucking up all of the content that is telling them that they're right, that this is all bad and we're all going to shit. And it's like, there is a chance that's exactly what's going to happen. But I'm looking for the few pieces here where I'm like, okay, like where could the good come from? What could we encourage here instead of just shitting on everything? Like, by looking at the good stuff, I am really pissing people off. And I find it frustrating and sad. But yeah, so to be accused on the show that we're like glazing over, the Trump picks, it's like, if you want panic, go somewhere else. It's exhausting and we don't want to do it. Yeah,
we've got we're overstocked on panic right now. A lot of other stores are carrying panic if you want it. You can get it delivered to your home. You can go directly to the store, get it on layaway. There's a lot of panic to go around. We're fresh
Panic
out of
Save America is ready and waiting for you. So go hang out with them. But we don't want to do that.
I think that reactive position of just get instinctively angry about every single pick isn't doing anybody any favors. So like we talked about Pete Hegseth last week, we had some complexities there. Like when you get into the Pentagon stuff, I think that the deputy head of the Defense Department's probably a bigger issue, all told, because that's effectively the comptroller. But that's not what people are talking about, because they're wanting to focus on the personality. Or like you can flip it around. Like Mehmet Oz is going to be the head of Medicaid, Medicare. The logic insofar as this exists is, well, he's a doctor. And like I think it's worth pointing out, like, for that kind of situation where you're like, oh, a doctor's in charge of it. Like, I don't think you should have a doctor in charge of Medicaid, Medicare, because you're not treating people. You should have an economist or a manager or something like. I actually think Mehmet Oz is a bad pick, because I want somebody that's led an organization, but I'm not keying off of Mehmet as like he's crazy. I'm just looking at him going like, yeah, I think it would make sense to have somebody in charge of a large, complex organization that deals with budgets to be in charge of Medicaid, Medicare. But I'm not coming at it like, he's racist or something.
Well, I'm looking at that one as, because I've heard him talk about the billing system, because that's really what he would be in charge of. So he understands how the billing system for Medicare and Medicaid is screwing with doctors. And so if he gets in there and makes that better for our doctors, which is therefore better for our patients, I'm all for it. So I'm trying to like look at these people and look at like, okay, where can I see that this could be good? Because I feel like people react better to being praised for things. And in the first Trump administration, it was all like, you're the worst, you're evil, these people did it. And it's like, what if we were to vocally encourage some of their behaviors? And so it's just like, I'm just looking for places where I found these people to be reasonable, instead of automatically being like, they're the worst picks ever. I don't see the benefit in that. And so I'm not going to serve that to and then there are going to be concerns. Like my next episode of Congressional Dish is a hearing about the Supreme Court's immunity ruling. I wanted to hear what Congress is being told about the effects of that. And like, it's a mixed bag, but I still wanted to hear it. I don't think it's going to make people feel comfortable. I'm not trying to like make people feel anything. Yeah. But because I'm being accused now of kind of being a Trump administration lackey, which is so ridiculous if you know my body of work, like I'm just already exhausted by the reactions people are having to everything Trump. There's no way to win, because no matter what we say, we're going to get these emails where we're doing it wrong. And
it's fun. It's fun to get the emails.
I don't know.
You mentioned Pod Save America. Let me recommend a podcast that is not one of ours to our listeners, and that is Pod Save America. I'm recommending Pod Save America because they had the senior leadership of the Harris campaign on in an hour and a half of hot potato of not taking any responsibility whatsoever. In fact, I just want to read you text messages that I had with a friend of mine who is a Pod Save America fan. He writes, "It's absolutely insane. I've taken more accountability for email typos." It is truly special. Truly special. I would recommend everybody listen to it. A big stammering weird alcoholic writes, "How dare you compare us to Rudy Giuliani?" I Miss Tech TV writes, "Why does MSNBC need to change its name? The MSN part of Microsoft News, and they've been out of the TV business for about the same amount of time as Ziff Davis has. The reason why NBC would have to change their name is that the corporate restructuring means that MSNBC would be separated from NBC News totally. And so therefore they would not be able to share the newsroom resources that they use for MSNBC. And so that is where they might have to do it unless they strike some licensing deal or some kind of content sharing agreement. Who knows? But that would be the reason why they might need to change.
I think this is really funny visually, by the way. We've had some latency issues in the recording today, and Jen and I have the exact same expression at the exact same time, which is who farted, even though we're all in 3 different states. You can just see us simultaneously go, did somebody fart? Is Ziff Davis a rapper?
No, Ziff Davis is not a rapper. Pull it up, Jamie. Is Joe Rogan Jen's only source for how she forms opinions on people?
Yes, obviously. What am I supposed to say to that? Fuck off.
Well, look, I do think that it's fascinating to see people react to kind of like the Joe Rogan question. And I saw a clip of Rogan saying this in his Mark Andreessen episode this week, where people were like, oh, they need to find the left's Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan's like, you had me. You had me. I was on your team. I was a Democrat. Like, you guys tried to cancel me and ran me off. And that is why his opinions have evolved on X, Y, and Z. But I think, it's the reason why I would recommend that Pod Save America episode, because the amount of like befuddlement from that team that anybody would have any problems with the way, like, they keep referring to like, oh, we've faced a lot of political headwind, And it's like, yeah, your brand and your candidate were unpopular. Why? Have you thought about why? Have you thought to maybe think about the root causes of some of this? No, it's headwind. It's just things that happen, comes and it goes. It's in the way that you use it. Yeah, sometimes you have a political headwind. It just happens. On the subject of Russia, Tulsi Truther writes, after listening to your discussion about Tulsi Gabbard, I asked my friend who works in Democratic politics, what's up with Tulsi Gabbard? Immediately, without further prompting, he said she was high key a Russian asset and sent me a link to a New York Times article. The article is a nothing burger about how Gabbard has been accused of parroting anti-American propaganda from our country's adversaries, but, quote, there's no evidence that she's ever collaborated in any way with Russia's intelligence agencies. Is it just me, or is this a microcosm of why the Dems lost? They push apocalyptic rhetoric about how the other guys are destroying the country. And then with a tiny amount of research, you find that it's just a lie or a baseless hot take deep down.
Yep. I think that there's a lot to that. I mean, like, we talked about this last week, where like I had and have many smart people in my life that are very opposed to Tulsi Gabbard, and I am open to them explaining to me why they think she is unstable or unreliable beyond a disagreement in policy prescription. And I will likely do an episode next week on Trump cabinet picks on the political orphanage. And I started looking at like just very cursory stuff on Tulsi Gabbard. And it's just, well, we all agree. We all know that she's a Russian asset. We know she's a Russian asset. And then you're looking like, is there any evidence at all about this? And the answer is no. The answer is she's doing, like, the honest description of her, if you want to be really honest, is I think she is making poor policy choices that would benefit Russia in a way that's harmful to the United States. That is a legitimate, logical position for you to take. I think that if you put her in charge of stuff, she will benefit Russia in a way that's harmful to the United States. That's very different than she's been co-opted by the Russian government and she's willfully serving a hostile power against the interests of the United States. It's also the kind of like, if oh my God, it begins. If the Trump administration were saying that about somebody, we would rightly criticize them on it. If they were saying that, going like you can't call that person a Russian asset. That's un-American. We have to be able to work through our differences
without proof.
I'm
without
at the point
proof.
Now where
they have stated without proof. That's the constant thing that just happens idiomatically whenever anything like that happens from one side to the other.
Yeah. So my new line on this is I watch this anytime anybody wants to curtail the military industrial complex or pull back on American commitments abroad. They immediately get labeled as a kook. and dismissed. And I think that this is a high stakes thing. I could be wrong about it, but the way to handle it is not to dismiss people. It's to engage with the ideas. Convince me that the ideas are bad. Convince me that your ideas are good. I'm open to it. Don't pull a low ball here and try to win the argument by dismissing people and forbidding us to explore the ideas. That's stupid, and I'm not going to play with you.
Well, they can't do that because the American people, a lot of us anyway, I count myself in this, are not a fan of having our people sent off to fight wars where the purpose of the wars are not clear to us. And so I think if you were to engage with Tulsi Gabbard on her ideas, which there are very few places that have given her 3 hours to actually talk about her ideas, which is why I listen to those Joe Rogan episodes. When you listen to the person sit down and actually talk about her ideas, they sound quite reasonable. And the military industrial complex doesn't like that because they don't have a counter argument other than we make an enormous amount of money. We get to steal other countries' resources. Like, they don't have good arguments for what they're doing. So the only thing they have is to attack the people that have the ideas that they just can't counter with more popular ideas. And so that's what I think is happening with Tulsi.
I'll push back slightly. Jen, I'm in agreement with you. I think we would probably vote the same way on most foreign policy things. I am friends with many people that disagree with my foreign policy position, and what they would say is that the peace that we have had since the end of World War II I don't know why that knocked off. The peace that we've had comparatively since World War II is a active product of American engagement abroad, and that if we were to pull out, we would see kind of ISIS replicate the world over. So there is an argument to be made that the world is anarchic and warlike, but for American involvement. I don't agree with that argument, but I think that
we're in a lot of wars. Like, there's been a lot of bloodshed for this supposed peace that we're bringing to the world. Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, that argument can be had. And it does happen in Congress. I see it all the time. But the easiest way to take someone like Tulsi down is not to have that argument, but to instead say, well, you're colluding with the enemy. So it's like everything you say is not valid. And that's what they've been doing to her for a decade.
I'm in very much agreement with you. And I think that this, like, for folks that are about to go into Thanksgiving, there's good faith and bad faith ways of engaging with ideas. So I think if you're bringing up something in order to expand the conversation, that's legitimate. So if you're saying, hey, Justin, you're a white guy. I've had a different experience being in a minority, and I'd like to share this with you because you may not have this insight. I think that that's a very positive way of interacting and adding things. But that's very different than, Justin, you're a white guy. You're not allowed to have an opinion on this. There's a difference between having information come in to expand the scope of the conversation and enrich it versus having it come in as a veto power to stop a conversation I don't want to have happen. And when we dismiss people and we say, you just can't deal with this idea, we're going into that territory of forbidding ideas rather than engaging in them. And that's, I think, contrary to how we should be running the country.
Yeah.
Yes, and al-Assad is a war criminal, right? Now, let me start off by saying that I agree with Jen that the U.S. trying to topple al-Assad would have been dangerous and would have probably made the situation in Syria worse. However, let's not pretend like the al-Assad regime is anything other than completely horrendous and that they deserve anything other than complete condemnation. Before one of you guys starts
who's pretending that?
But let them. He's talking to the people at large.
Okay, well, it is a reaction to something I said, and it does make me insane when these people are like, because I told you that Tulsi met with the man, I'm not saying that he's a fucking saint. So go ahead and list his 15 different reasons that Assad is bad. No, but now he's going to tell you 15 reasons Assad is bad. Let's go. It's obvious.
Right. Google the 15 reasons that Assad is bad.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's like, no shit, Assad is bad. So is Putin. Do I have to say it every time in order to make a point about what our government does? I don't think that this was an attack on you, Jen. I think that this was him just trying to illustrate to other people that are listening that Assad is bad.
Yes.
We know.
Okay, but do we? I mean, we just went through this whole thing that we shouldn't we should be engaging with the ideas. We should be talking about the evidence.
Yeah, but the thing is, when it comes to Assad is bad and Putin is bad, and like that is the mainstream. That is the common knowledge. Like, the reason Tulsi is known as an asset is because she spoke to the man. So the idea that Assad is bad, I think it's out there. I think that has been established. Putin bad, Assad bad, like, we know, bad.
But we can talk about it on the show.
I'm not saying that you can't, but I'm also allowed to have a reaction. But you did take it as a personal
attack on you.
I didn't say, I mean, the reaction is, he said, okay, the beginning, I don't have it in front of me, but it was, I agree with Jen on what she actually said about the geopolitical implications.
Yes.
But let's not pretend. And it's like, am I pretending that he's like, I'm not pretending, and none of us are pretending. And I feel like in my career, and this is bigger than this one emailer, I don't care, but like in general, when I tell you the history of Ukraine, when I tell you the history of what happened with our regime change, I am not telling you that Assad is good. I am not telling you that Putin is good. Like, I've been accused of this so many times that I'm like pretending that these people are great. And so it's like perfectly fine what they do in their countries. Like, you can hear that our country is doing bad things without that meaning that the other country is good. And so this is just another in a very long pattern going back over a decade of me basically being accused of whitewashing everything the other side does. That's not the case. But my job is to cover what we do. And so that is what my whole diatribe was about, is about Tulsi Gabbard not telling you that Assad is great. I wasn't pretending that he was great. So that's why I took that as what it is.
A personal attack on you.
I mean, I don't believe in that's an attack, but I do think that the reason this person took their time to research all this and write out a long email with all of the points about why Assad is bad to educate me, I do think that was about me.
I don't think it was to educate you. I think it was to educate the audience.
Well, I'm pretty sure the audience has gotten the memo that Assad is bad because it has been drilled into their heads if they know anything about Syria.
I don't know. He seems like a good guy. He's not apologist. I don't know. Am I the only guy that thinks he's cool?
Let's talk about Blue Sky. Blue Rangers writes, I'd like the crew. I think the crew is being a little bit too uncharitable to Blue Sky migrants. At the basic level, they've correctly identified Musk as a political enemy and diagnosed that their collective continued presence on Twitter is the only thing differentiating it from Truth Social. The complete destruction of the value of Twitter would be more significant than anything that Cat Turd has ever done.
I'd like to clarify my position on this, if I may.
Go.
It's not that I'm criticizing people for moving over to Blue Sky. I want to be very clear on this. I look at the majority, not all, but the majority of social media as people banging themselves in the face with a hammer. And so people that are leaving Twitter for Blue Sky are going, this hammer keeps hitting me in the face. What if I get a blue-colored hammer to whack myself in the face with? I'm criticizing social media. It's not that I think that Twitter's good and Blue Sky is bad. I think that a lot of the time, social media sucks up our attention away from in-person relationships, which makes us lonely, and that it becomes this weird proxy ground for political arguments that accomplish nothing. That's my root concern, is like, you have an opportunity to just quit. Like, just quit and go outside. Don't go find another hammer. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I'm a little different than that. I just don't want to go to Blue Sky right now because I have enough social media. Like, I'm told that I have to, now I have to be on Threads and Blue Sky, and like Mastodon is a thing that I'm pressured to be on. And I just feel like it's too much. And the people that are telling me to go to Blue Sky are being pretty reactive to who owns Twitter, and just the whole idea that, Twitter X, whatever, has been completely ruined by right wing. But like, I just don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of sour grapes about Elon partnering with Trump. Like, I don't love that Elon has kind of inserted his stuff into my feed, but like, I also don't care. I have a following there. I get my news there. I've already kind of established myself there. Like, until you can give me a reason why Blue Sky is anything different, I'm just not going to waste my time. It's not giving advice to anyone else. I don't care, but people are asking me to add Blue Sky to my already too full social media diet, and I haven't been persuaded yet that there's a good reason for that. And the people going over there are just, it seems like a lot of liberal crybabies, and so until it's something that is not that, like, I'm just not
demonstrate value. That's all I want from any social media.
Yeah, exactly.
And the one thing that Twitter still has is journalists and government people. I follow it for journalists, government people, and hot takes in that order. Kill the Algos writes, you guys focus on the political conversation on Twitter, probably rightly so, but a lot of us are leaving because that's all anybody wants to talk about, and it ruins everything else. If you can't tell from my email signature, I'm from Orlando, and I love posting pictures of theme parks, but all the algorithms ruin this. Instagram wants you to post videos, not photos, but if you do post photos, the women better be either naked or the algorithm won't care. Even then, maybe 3 people will see it next week. Post a picture of the Cinderella castle on Twitter, you're a liberal cuck, and they'll make sure that you know. Post the same picture on Threads, and the algorithm's going to show you a dozen people who prefer Universal Studios and want to fight you over it. But my experience posting on Blue Sky the past week or two, only people who want to enjoy shit. If you like it, follow me. If you don't. And guess what? All my followers will see what I post, and I will see stuff from people I follow. It's what social media used to be. Fun. I don't see arguments over news stories injected into my feed, people yelling breaking over tiny things, or insults being flung everywhere. People like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are injecting their own posts into my timeline, even when I've blocked them. And that's something that I've heard every time a new social media company comes out. It's what happens when there's a small community. May it bring you peace, good friend. May it bring you peace.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, I sure hope Blue Sky at some point doesn't decide to make money. That could fuck everything up for this wonderful algorithm. I hope that it works. I hope that it does, but I'm not holding my breath.
Well, and everything you just listed is not something I'm interested in. I don't do social media for fun because I know every study and just my own experience, like social media doesn't make me happier. So what I'm looking for, like one of the reasons I go to X, like for instance, when Iran was sending a bunch of missiles over to Israel, I wanted to see what the president of Iran said about it. So I went to his Twitter account and found out. They even translated it for me. So it's like, until Blue Sky can do that for me, there's nothing there for me. I want to see that I use it for news. And so if you're using it for the yuck yucks, like, great. But you should not tell me that there's anything there for me there if that's the experience.
Get the Khomeinis on Blue Sky. Jen will not leave until the Khomeinis are on Blue Sky.
Finally, and Ben Gavir, that's where they're all at.
Finally, for the art rights, I'm an artist who used Twitter to advertise my work. When it became X, it started becoming super unfriendly to artists. Potential clients had extra hurdles to DM me. People I blocked for being art thieves can now see my posts again, and X is now feeding my work into its AI grok. And due to the algorithm changes, almost nobody sees my art anymore. Blue Sky has none of these policies, and it's a breath of fresh air. Nearly all the artists I know and have followed have moved to Blue Sky, and I already have the same number of followers that I had on X. Well, good.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome.
I hope it works. I genuinely do. I hope it works.
Here's all I'll say about it. A friend of mine told me this a while ago. No party is good where you're getting texts about how good the party is. That's it. It is a life lesson to live by. If you are getting texts from people saying, oh my God, this shit is great, it sucks. It's terrible. Because if it was really good, they wouldn't have time to text. They would just be there having an amazing good time. So every time that I see somebody loudly complaining about how I'm leaving this place, I'm changing my handle to .Blue Sky, all you're doing is advertising that place stinks. It's boring, it's screechy, and it's awful. Like, you are not advertising this to me. Now, if I randomly start getting a bunch of screen grabs from Blue Sky about shit that I can't see on Twitter, I'm gonna go to Blue Sky because that's people sending pictures of this amazing thing that's happening right now. I will go. But if you're just telling me to leave right now on the faith that it's gonna be fun later, up your nose with a rubber hose. I don't want any part of that nonsense.
Which is a great Cardi B lyric. Up your nose with the rubber hose. I'm going to do Kegels with this and those.
I don't think that it was the nose. We're Not Wrong is a production of Dog and Pony Show Audio. Our editor is Will Saddleberg. PX3 is a recap of 2024 predictions with Michael Cohen and Tom LoBianco. What I do want to plug is World's Greatest Con, the podcast that I executive produce, and our editor, Will Saddleberg, works on new 2-part episode that is out right now about Crazy Eddie. If you grew up in the tri-state area, the New York tri-state area during the 70s and 80s, almost assuredly you saw commercials for Crazy Eddie, a discount electronics outfit that expanded rapidly. It is an amazing story, multi-million dollars worth of fraud and embezzlement, family drama, cocaine, somebody gets stabbed. It's awesome. So go ahead and download it right now. World's Greatest Con, Crazy Eddie 1 and 2. Jen, what's up with the dish?
So the latest episode, I actually really like this episode. I kind of told you about it before, but I watched a roundtable that was hosted by Senator Ron Johnson. I did not expect this, but RFK Jr. was actually there and spoke quite a bit. So he's in the episode too. But I also, because the roundtable wasn't an official hearing, I found an official hearing that was also about food safety. So it was talking about mainly the chemicals in our food, how they're approved, I think was one of the biggest takeaways for me. I was really surprised at that process. And just talked about just the difference in our food supply and like what corporations are allowed to put in our food that they're not in other countries. It was really fascinating. It's already changed the way that I'm shopping at the grocery store. So I really like this episode. If you absolutely hate RFK Jr. and can't handle being told that there might be a benefit to him being in the administration, you will hate this episode. But if you want to know what's in your food supply, I learned a lot. So I really like that episode. That's out there now. And then also on the Patreon, I had done a bunch of interviews at the RNC and DNC. And so I am now airing those every week in full. Yeah. So the first one's already out. The next one will be out on Friday, but we're airing them every week until the end of the year. So if you want to hear me, and we're doing it in order too, so you can kind of hear me, like I do my first ever interview with a member of Congress, and you'll hear me get more and more comfortable as I go. So the first very awkward one is up now. And so that's on the Congressional Dish Patreon.
Keats, what's up with the ORF?
I have a really fun conversation with our friend Musa Al-Gharbi, who did you interview Musa about his book, Justin? Has he been on your show?
Indeed, I did. Yeah.
Then everybody, you get a double barrel because he's on the Political Orphanage this week. I talked to him for an hour and a half. For people that are unfamiliar with Musa, Musa is I love Musa. Like every time he laughs, I can see into his soul and see that we would have played D&D in high school together if we'd lived in the same town. He's such a fundamental dork, and I say that in a really positive way as a fellow dork. I really like the guy. He's a really, really smart dude. And he wrote a book called We've Never Been Woke, which I think is slightly clickbaity because what he's really talking about is elite overproduction theory.
Well, I think it's the problem is that it's a reference to another book that nobody knows, which is We Have Never Been Modern. And so it's it's hard.
It's an interesting choice of title, but it's a fascinating concept for people that are unfamiliar with this. Giant light bulb went off over my head as I read this book, and I talked to him about it. Elite overproduction theory is the idea that you get really big, loud social movements when we produce too many prospective elites to take the actual amount of elite jobs that exist. So if you have a bunch of people cranked out of high-end universities that are all looking to go into high-status, high-paying jobs, and it turns out they produce too many of those graduates for the amount of jobs that exist, there's a lot of very angry people who feel jilted by the system, and they take their anger out in terms of social movements. That's kind of it in a nutshell. We have a really good hour-and-a-half long conversation about it. I think that it answers a fundamental question of not what is wokeness or is wokeness a religion? All that kind of stuff we've sort of floated around. It does a really good job of answering what is the instigating factor that causes these things to happen. Why did everybody become woke around 2015 or so? What is the operative vector that's causing these things to occur? Really good chat. And then on the bonus episode, we just talk about the sex lives of the elite. We spend I was like, hey, can you stick around extra? Tell me about how elite people date and if I qualify as elite. And so fun on the Political Orphanage.
God, Musa Al-Gharbi playing couch therapist to Heaton's dating life is certainly worth the price of subscribing to.
Yeah. I felt great by the end of it. Is a little like preview of this. I was like, okay, who qualifies as elite? And he's like, well, data wise, you'd need to make six figures, be at least 6 feet tall. And it wouldn't hurt if you're white. And I'm like, I will have 2 wives. This is great. Go on, Musa.
Go ahead and get that in your life. But for us, that's going to wrap it up. Hey, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. For Jen Briney and Andrew Heaton, I am Justin Robert Young, reminding you that we're not wrong. Your family is.
I like that one.